I'm Jake from the Door Rack Painter. Today I'd like to show you how to apply a glazed wood finish on a painted cabinet door. You basically can create almost any kind of wood finish, oak, mahogany, etc. What's unique is that you are creating the wood finish over a painted surface. Several of our glazing applications must be applied with a brush. But you should always spray the primer, base coat, maybe even the toner, and for sure the 2 to 3 clear finish coat to get a beautiful I'm using the Door Rack Painter to quicken things up. The Door Rack Painter allows me to spray paint and store both sides of the cabinet door at the same time. This is my own spray rack. I screwed it onto my work table. But if you use the Door Rack Painter on a job site, you would use it attached to a sawhorse, just like the rotating spray rack I have right here. This is it. And then you can rotate your cabinet door, spray it on each side, whichever way you want it. It's very easily attached to a sawhorse underneath here. And then the door is placed onto the dry rack. I am doing everything in this small little area because of the video, but normally you have the spray rack and the dry rack separated from each other for obvious reasons, you know, because you don't want to get any overspray onto the finish. First thing we're going to do, the first coat is going to be the primer. The primer is attaching itself to whatever surface you are putting the finish on. So this is the most important coat. If this coat doesn't have any adhesion, no matter how nice your finish product is, it's worthless because it starts to peel off. So I'm using Set Coat. It's a type of a primer that I use. It's an acrylic based primer, but there's many different primers you can use. Best way is test them. Make sure that the adhesion is really good. The other thing is this particular primer here also makes it easy for us to glaze on it. So that's why we're using that kind of a primer. These are 2 samples that we did over solid body paint, meaning they don't have any grain on them except handmade grain that we created. So my next step will be to apply the toner. Some people like to apply it by brush. I like to spray it. Uh-oh, I messed up. So the toner is the lightest color that you see through the wood finish. So, you know, let's go and spray it on. So we're gonna put the first glaze on right now, and we got 3 tools that we're gonna use for the whole job. This is a stippler brush. This is a simple chip brush, 4 inches long, white, and this is a flogger. So the first coat, you just dip it a little bit in here with the chip brush, and you just load up the whole cabinet, side and everything. I already did the other side, so make sure you get into the corners and everything really well, so there's no corner left afterwards that, you know, without any glaze on it. So. That's just a chip brush. And use the stipler brush and you create a fake wood finish. Actually, by the time we're done with that first coat, this is gonna look like bamboo, like a bamboo. You could sell it as a bamboo finish, especially when you put the clear on it. That would kind of look nice. It'd be a one coat finish, but it would kind of, you know, give it a different look. But we're gonna go for a much darker wood finish, so we're gonna put several coats of glazing on here. Applying the second coat, the second glazing coat actually. So just cleaning that up a little bit, and we made it a little browner. The second coat, I don't want it to get too red of a finish, so I made it a little browner, so I added a little color into the clear glaze. Same thing, load up the whole cabinet door with glaze. All the edges again, everything. You can put less on it, you can put more on it. The more you put on, the more you have to work later. The less you put on, the less you have to work later. But you know, it's kind of like, I kind of like to put more on and then work it, because for one thing, you don't need as many coats, and I don't mind working it. But if you have a lot of doors, you know, this is a sample. Samples are, you know, it's easy to spend a lot of time on a sample. If you have a lot of doors, I might want to put a little less on, this way you don't have to work it so hard. But anyway, so you see, now we're creating this wood look with the stipler brush again. So we only used two brushes so far, the chip and the stipler, but now we use the flogger. And the flogger, what the flogger does is it gets you a grain pattern in there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's a, you could, if you wanted to, you could just leave it like that. I don't know, it's a little too fake looking if you leave it like that, because I still like to go over it with a stipler brush. So, but you know, you see a little bit of a grain pattern, just like wood would, just like wood. It's a little light on this side, so I can put a little more glaze on here. And the top side's a little light. So, like I said, you can overwork it too. So it's kind of like a fine line. You know, you don't want any, you don't want to leave any big blobs, because that, you know, that just looks fake and ugly. But in the same token, you don't want to overwork it either. So, you know, that you don't have anything on there. You know, you have to have some material on there. So it's kind of like just a little bit of extra work in here and there. And then you can take the chip brush afterwards too. And the chip brush is nice. In chip brush you can do those edges a little better than with the stipler brush. Yeah, because you want to make sure that the wood flows, that it looks real. You know, if you have stripes going one way and it's supposed to go the other way, it looks fake. So the whole thing is about making it look authentic. So you would have to go really close to figure out that it's not wood. As a matter of fact, my rule is about a foot or so. If you're a foot away, it should look like wood. You should really be fooled by it. Even though it's imitated, we created it. Okay, so that's the second coat, and we let that dry. Second glazing coat. This is a badger brush, and so I kind of like to go when the glaze dries a little bit, not too wet anymore. I like to go over it with a badger brush, and that what it does is basically it kind of straightens out the lines a little bit. It makes them disappear. It gives you more of a natural look. Again, more authentic. This is the close-up of the second coat. So this is what it looks like. So you could leave this alone and put a clear on it. It would look pretty nice already. Or we're gonna make it a little darker. So we're gonna put the second coat of clear. I already put one coat of clear on it and then sanded it with a sanding pad. So we're gonna put the second coat of clear. I use Ultramax by SAR. This happens to be semi-gloss. I like the satin, and for antique finishes, I like the antique flat, which is a really nice, very, very matte type of a finish. I don't have one here, but we used semi-gloss. It's a really nice finish. It takes a while to dry, but it comes out beautiful. It has a nice finish to it. It's an acrylic base. It also doesn't yellow inside the crevices. Some acrylic finishes yellow when you leave a little too much. This one doesn't. It's really a nice finish. Anyway, so that's what we're going to spray on right now. So I want to show you what we're going to do here. This is another piece that I did glazing wood. So the reason I put a clear coat on it first before I put the antique coat on it is because this way I can manipulate the antique coat. It doesn't like suck into the previous finish. So that's the reason I put the clear coat on it. It kind of seals it a little bit, or seals it quite a bit actually. So that's it. So, and now all we do is put it on and then wipe it down. And I wipe it down with cheesecloth. It's cheesecloth, little wet cheesecloth. And so basically we just wipe down the extra so it doesn't bludge up. This way it stays in the grooves and it has a little more authentic. This is a little more of an authentic look. You can play with it a little bit, and you can take a brush that's a little material on it. Try not to put too much on it. Like I say, you can overwork that too. Always keep in mind, if you have 80 or 90 doors to do, you're going to take as much time as your sample took on every door of, so you want to make sure that you get it done in a reasonable time, because if you go crazy in every sample, then you're going to be working very hard to finish. Okay, so that's it's a little wet right now, but that's it. You can also brush it off a little bit with a badge brush. Put clear, same clear, on this wood glazing finish. Again, just to emphasize it one more time, this here is not wood grain, natural wood grain. This is what we created by reglazing the piece over and over again. It's a little too early to spray, but for sample's sake, we're gonna go a little early on this one. So these are the finished projects. Like I said, this one, we put a little more antique on it on the end, over a clear coat. And this one is just a nice light glazing finish. We're gonna do more finishes in the future. This one is just a very, very simple wood finish. This one is a little more higher end just because of the antique. Obviously a whole different look. It gives it just a nicer look than if you just stain them. You can also stain and glaze at the same time, meaning you put the stain on and then you glaze over. This way you can see the grain and all that on new cabinets. But in this particular case, it's all over solid finishes. So hope you like that.